Imagine stepping out of a time machine and realizing the air smells wrong. Not polluted, not smoky, but thick, wet, green and alive, like a swamp, a greenhouse and a thunderstorm all breathing at once. Somewhere beyond the trees, something heavier than a pickup truck breaks a branch without even trying. And the worst part is not that Tyrannosaurus rex exists here. The worst part is that this is its world, and you are the weird little animal that does not belong. This is North America around 66 to 68 million years ago, near the very end of the Cretaceous period. But do not picture the North America you know. There are no highways, no cities, no cornfields, no gas stations glowing in the dark. The continent itself looks like it lost a fight with the ocean. A warm inland sea still cuts through parts of North America, splitting the land into ancient western and eastern worlds. T.rex rules the western side, a lost continent scientists call Laramidia, a place that feels less like Montana or the Dakotas and more like a dinosaur version of the Gulf Coast mixed with a haunted forest. The ground beneath your feet is soft. Not nice hiking trail soft, but dangerous soft. Mud sucks at your shoes. River channels snake through the landscape like moving scars. Floodplains stretch out in every direction, broken by swampy patches, forests, sandbars, ponds, and low coastal plains. This is not a dry dinosaur desert. This is a wet, shifting, mosquito nightmare planet where the map keeps changing every time a river floods. If you tried to walk in a straight line, the land itself would keep saying no. The plants are familiar and alien at the same time. Flowering plants are spreading everywhere, making the world feel strangely modern. But the forest is not modern enough to comfort you. There are ferns underfoot, conifers above you, ginkgo-like leaves, magnolia-like trees, and swampy plants crowding the riverbanks. Imagine a southern bayou, a botanical garden, and a Jurassic Park set all stitched together, then remove every safety railing. The greenery is thick enough to hide a school bus. Unfortunately, some of the things hiding in it are the size of one. And this is where the first survival rule becomes obvious. Visibility is terrible. In movies, dinosaurs often run across open plains where everyone can see them coming. Here, a giant animal can vanish behind leaves, tree trunks, river mist, and uneven ground. You might hear it before you see it. A branch crack, a low breath, a splash in shallow water, then nothing. That silence is not peaceful. That silence is the forest deciding whether you are food. T.rex is not wandering around every corner like a video game boss waiting in each level. But its presence changes the entire world. It is the top predator, the animal that makes even large herbivores nervous. A full-grown T.rex could stretch around 40 feet long, roughly the length of a school bus, and weigh several tons. Its skull alone looks like a nightmare toolbox, huge jaws, thick bone, and teeth shaped less like knives and more like railroad spikes designed to punch through flesh, crack bone, and leave no polite leftovers. But here is the strange thing. T.rex is not just a giant lizard with anger issues. It is a highly specialized predator built for power, senses, and timing. Its eyes face forward more than many other dinosaurs, giving it strong depth perception, like nature gave it hunting goggles. Its sense of smell was likely excellent, the kind of nose that could turn a distant carcass into a dinner invitation. If a dead Edmontosaurus was rotting somewhere downwind, T.rex may have known long before anything else did. And the bite. That is where the animal becomes almost unfair. Scientists estimate T.rex had one of the strongest bites of any land animal ever. Not a clean slicing bite like a steak knife, more like a hydraulic press with teeth. When T.rex bit, it did not just cut meat, it could crush bone, rip through joints, and turn a living animal's body into a problem with no solution. This is not the predator you outrun in a heroic sprint. This is the predator you hope never notices you in the first place. But that was only the beginning. Because life under T.rex was not just about T.rex. The whole ecosystem was dangerous. This was a crowded world full of animals that had spent millions of years becoming very good at not dying. Some had horns, some had armor, some had speed, some had numbers, and many of them were not passive plant eaters waiting to become lunch. They were living tanks, moving barricades, and nervous herds with enough muscle to flatten a human by accident. Take Triceratops. In a museum it looks almost peaceful, like a giant fossil cow with fancy horns. In real life, it would be more like standing in front of a rhinoceros the size of a pickup truck, with a shield on its head and 3 spears attached to its face. Triceratops was one of the main neighbors of T.rex and likely one of its most dangerous potential meals. A predator attacking it would not be chasing a helpless salad eater. It would be gambling with broken ribs, puncture wounds, and maybe death. Then there is Edmontosaurus, a duck-billed dinosaur that does not get enough respect because it lacks horns, armor, or a villain name. But imagine an animal longer than many buses, traveling in groups with powerful legs and a body built like a moving wall of meat. To T.rex, Edmontosaurus may have been a major food source. To you, it would be terrifying simply because of scale. If a herd panicked, you would not need a predator to kill you. A frightened herbivore stampede could do the job for free. And somewhere in the undergrowth, smaller dinosaurs move like shadows. There are bird-like predators, quick-footed scavengers, little hunters with sharp senses and sharper teeth. Some would not see a human as a main course, but that is not comforting. In this ecosystem, being ignored by the biggest predator does not make you safe. It just means you are now available to everything else. The sky is also not empty. Pterosaurs still glide over the rivers and coastal plains, not dragons, but real flying reptiles with bodies shaped by millions of years of aerial survival. Some may have stalked shorelines like giant, terrifying herons. Birds are here too, not the exact birds at your backyard feeder, but their ancient relatives. The air is full of calls, wing beats, insects, and the strange background noise of a world almost modern enough to recognize, but too old to trust. The rivers are even worse. If you escaped the forest and reached water, you might think you found a safe route. Terrible idea. Late Cretaceous waterways could hold turtles, fish, amphibians, and crocodile-like reptiles. Some were small, some were not. River edges are natural ambush zones then and now. Every thirsty animal has to come there eventually, and predators understand that better than anyone. A muddy bank in T.rex country is basically a prehistoric gas station where every customer is armed. The climate is warm, humid, and seasonal. Not exactly a tropical paradise, more like a world where heat, rain, flood, and rot work together. Storms roll in, rivers overflow, plants grow fast, dead things decay fast, insects would be everywhere. The smell of the world would be intense. Wet leaves, mud, animal dung, decaying wood, flowers, stagnant pools, and occasionally the iron smell of blood. If modern nature smells like a park, this place smells like nature with the volume turned all the way up, and this is where the story gets stranger. T.rex did not begin life as the king. A baby T.rex would have been vulnerable. Not tiny like a chicken, but still nowhere near the monster it would become. Young tyrannosaurs likely had different bodies and different jobs in the ecosystem. They were slimmer, faster, and more agile than the huge adults. Think less walking tank and more nightmare teenager with knives. They may have hunted smaller prey that adults were too massive to chase efficiently. So in a way, the ecosystem may have had 2 versions of T.rex at once, the lighter, faster young hunters and the bone-crushing adult giants. That means growing up as T.rex was not just getting bigger. It was changing careers. A juvenile might chase, dart and grab. An adult could dominate with power. As the animal aged, its skull became heavier, its bite became more devastating, and its role shifted from fast predator to apex force of nature. Imagine if a teenage wolf grew into a living bulldozer that could smell death from miles away. That is the career path we are talking about, but even the king had problems. A fully grown T.rex needed a massive amount of food. Every injury mattered. A broken leg could be a death sentence. A damaged jaw could turn the world's most famous predator into a starving animal. This is the part movies often forget. Apex predators live at the top, but the top is narrow. One bad hunt, one infected wound, one unlucky fight with a Triceratops, and the throne starts to wobble. So what would a normal day feel like here? Morning begins with fog sitting low over the floodplain. The air is cool for a moment, but not refreshing. It feels like a wet blanket. Insects buzz. Small animals rustle in the leaf litter. Somewhere, a herd of herbivores moves toward open ground, their footsteps making the soil tremble softly. You might see the dome-headed Pachycephalosaurus moving in the distance, or the armored shape of Ankylosaurus, like a living military bunker with a tail club that could ruin anyone's afternoon. Then the sun climbs higher and the world gets louder. Birds call. Reptiles slide into warm patches. Leaves drip. The forest is not still, it is twitching. Every sound could be harmless or not. A splash might be a turtle. A snap might be a branch. A deep thud might be a massive animal stepping nearby. Your modern brain would keep trying to label the noises, but this world does not care about your categories. By midday, the heat thickens. The rivers glitter. The mud softens. Large herbivores feed in patches of vegetation, stripping plants, cropping leaves, chewing, moving, watching. They are not stupid. Prey animals are professional survivors. Their eyes scan the tree lines. Their bodies angle toward escape routes. A young Edmontosaurus that wanders too far from the group is not just being careless. It is becoming a possibility, and possibilities are what predators live on. A T.rex hunt may not have looked like a constant high-speed chase. This was a huge animal, and huge animals must manage energy. It may have used ambush, tracking, intimidation, opportunism, or all of the above. If it found a weak, injured, trapped, or isolated animal, the situation could change fast. One moment the floodplain is tense but normal. The next, birds explode from the trees, herbivores surge forward, mud flies, and the sound of a giant predator moving through brush turns the whole forest into an alarm system. The actual attack would be brutally simple. T-Rex did not need fancy martial arts. It had jaws. If it got close enough, the bite could end the argument. Against large prey, it may have targeted vulnerable areas, clamped down, pulled, crushed, and let physics help. The animal's neck muscles, skull strength, and teeth formed a feeding machine built not just to kill, but to process a body afterward. This is why T-Rex feels different from many other famous predators. It was not elegant, it was industrial, but the meal would not belong to T-Rex alone. Scavengers would arrive, smaller theropods, insects, maybe croc-like animals near water, and other opportunists would turn a carcass into a crowded event. In this world, death is not an ending, it is a public buffet. Bones are cracked, scraps vanish, flies gather, soil absorbs what remains, and plants grow over the evidence. The ecosystem wastes almost nothing, and then Earth changed the rules again. Because while T-Rex ruled the land, it lived in a world already close to disaster. Not in a dramatic movie way where animals look up and sense the future. They did not know an asteroid was coming. The forests did not know. The rivers did not know. The Triceratops, lowering its horns in the evening light, had no idea it belonged to one of the last dinosaur worlds on Earth. That is what makes this time so haunting. It is not just powerful, it is temporary. The late Cretaceous world was vibrant, complex, and full of evolutionary confidence. Dinosaurs had been dominating land ecosystems for an almost ridiculous amount of time. Compared with that, humans are a tiny post-credit scene. T-Rex appears near the very end of the dinosaur story, not at the beginning. It is not a primitive monster. It is a final boss created after millions of years of experiments in teeth, muscle, bone, and survival. That changes how we should see it. T-Rex was not a mistake. It was not an oversized movie villain. It was the result of a world that rewarded power, senses, patience, and the ability to turn enormous prey into food. It belonged perfectly to its environment. The scary thing is not that T-Rex was unnatural. The scary thing is how natural it was. If a human stood there, we would be useless in almost every physical category. Too slow to outrun the big threats, too weak to fight the armored ones, too loud, too smelly, too soft, too dependent on tools that have not been invented yet. Our biggest advantage would be the same one we have now, our brain. But even that brain would be working overtime, trying to survive a world where every shadow could move and every open space could expose you. Night would be the worst. When darkness falls over T-Rex country, the forest does not go quiet, it changes shifts. Insects scream, water moves invisibly. Small animals call, freeze, flee, and vanish. You would not see far. Every tree trunk could become a shape. Every shape could become a body. Somewhere, a large animal exhales. Somewhere else, something steps into mud. You might not know whether T-Rex hunted actively at night, but honestly, that uncertainty would not help you sleep. and the stars above would look down on a planet that is both Earth and not Earth. The moon is there, the sky is there, the ground is real. But the familiar world has been rearranged into something stranger than science fiction because it actually happened. This was not fantasy. This was not a monster movie set. This was home for millions of living creatures that ate, fought, grew, migrated, nested, bled, healed, and died under the same sun that shines on us. That is the real magic of the T.rex world. It was not just a stage for one famous predator. It was a complete planet of relationships. Rivers fed forests. Forests fed predators. Herbivores fed predators. Dead things fed the soil. The soil fed the next generation of plants, and through it all T.rex moved like a living reminder that nature does not need villains. It only needs hunger. Then, in one of the most violent plot twists in Earth's history, the Cretaceous ended. An asteroid impact helped trigger global catastrophe.
Mass times acceleration
Fire, darkness, collapsing food chains, climate chaos, and mass extinction tore through ecosystems
As
that
the
had stood
asteroid
for millions
encounters
of
atmosphere,
years. The non-avian dinosaurs disappeared. T.rex, Triceratops, Edmontosaurus, Ankylosaurus, and so many others were gone. Not because they were failures, but because the planet changed faster than even giants could handle. But the story did not end in silence. Birds survived. Mammals survived. Plants recovered. Forests returned. The world rebuilt itself, not as a copy, but as a sequel. Over millions of years, the age of dinosaurs gave way to the age of mammals, then primates, then humans, then cities, satellites, and people sitting in bedrooms watching videos about a world that vanished before the first flower shop, the first road, or the first campfire ever existed. So, when we say T.rex ruled the Earth, we do not mean it ruled the whole planet like an emperor. We mean it ruled a world that was perfectly built for it. Wet forests, huge prey, dangerous rivers, crowded floodplains, and an evolutionary arms race where every animal was either armed, armored, fast, hidden, or hungry. T.rex was the crown on the final dinosaur kingdom. And if you could visit that kingdom for one day, the lesson would be simple. You would not feel like the main character. You would feel small. You would feel temporary. You would feel the ground shake and understand, deep in your bones, that Earth has worn many faces before ours. Some were greener. Some were hotter. Some were filled with monsters that were not monsters at all, just animals doing exactly what life had trained them to do. The modern world is not the normal version of Earth. It is only the latest chapter. Before us, there were worlds of swamp forests, inland seas, armored giants, horned beasts, flying reptiles, and a predator with bone-crushing jaws walking through the mist. T.rex did not know it was legendary. It did not know it would become a symbol, a skeleton, a toy, a movie star, and a scientific obsession. It simply lived, and for a brief, terrifying moment in deep time, that was enough to make it king. If this world felt terrifying, wait until you see what came before it. Subscribe, because Earth's strangest chapters are still buried under our feet.